Star Bowling with the top bowling stars of America. Brought to you by Hi there, everyone, and welcome to Top Star Bowling from the Hoffman Lanes here at Hoffman Estates, Illinois, just outside of Chicago. I'm Jack Buck, and each week it's my pleasure to introduce to you two top star bowlers who have come here from various points in the country to compete in this $40,000 bowling series. $1,000 top prize today in this show, $500 for the loser, along with a very attractive LaSalle watch. I hope that you were tuned in last week or here at the Hoffman Lanes. And if you were, you saw a very exciting battle, a seesaw affair, in which Don Ellis from Houston, Texas, won out in his match, bowling 620 to 609 for Andy Rogoznica. Well, Andy isn't with us this week, but we have another formidable foe for Mr. Don Ellis from Houston. Let's bring these gentlemen on and introduce them to you right now. And the defender right at the moment in this King of the Hill affair, where the winner stays on each week, Mr. Don Ellis from Houston, Texas. Don, good to see you back again.
Thank you, Jack. Glad to be back here again.
And I don't see Andy around here this week. That's the game of bowling, isn't it?
That's the way it goes.
And his opponent for today from Kansas City, Missouri, Mr. Bob Chase. Bob, good to see you.
Thank you very much, Jack.
Bob, I suppose as I look back in your history of bowling that the big point is you haven't been around as long as most of these fellows who are competing on the same level.
That's right, Jack. I started on the professional swing, you might say, in about 1959.
And a couple of near misses in some of the big tournaments.
Yeah, I think the tournament everyone is after is the All-Star, and I was runner-up to Harry Smith in 1960, and, of course, I'm looking forward to winning that one of these days.
There was a PBA tournament and a BPAA tournament, which you finished second.
Yes, the BPAA tournament was the All-Star, and we have been in the national doubles in the high top 10 or 15 for the last 2 or 3 years.
And you can't finish any worse than second here today.
Well, I hope not.
but that wouldn't be good enough.
No, I think everybody wishing to have good luck.
The winner of this particular match will take on Buzz Fazio next week, and Don, you're hoping that that is you, right?
I'd like to see Buzz next week, yes.
The best of luck to you in the match. Do well.
Thank you.
And the very best to you, Bob Chase.
Thank you.
Bob,
good luck.
Good luck.
Don Ellis and Bob Chase are competitors on Top Star Bowling, so stand by for some very fine action. Each week they toss a coin to see who the leadoff man is going to be. Bob Chase won the toss for this particular match and chose to lead off, so he's up on 29, and our match is underway. A 3-game match, total pins count, $1,000 first prize, and let's see how Bob gets us off and running. The ball out there nicely, crossed over, and leaves a 6-pin. And I suppose whenever these professional bowlers cross over like that, they're always happy to get away with anything but a split. Thought for a while he might carry on the Brooklyn, but left the 6-pin. Of course, there's a lot of psychology associated with leading off. If you can bomb that first one in there and get that big strike, make your opponent try to match you, why, there is quite a psychological advantage to be gained. Shooting the 6-pin is Bob Chase, and he marks to start us off. And now Don Ellis on 30. He hit this pair in very fine fashion last week, and he was right on that head pin that time. Not on the nose, but very, very full, quite high, carried, and he gets the strike rather than Bob Chase. And so the psychological advantage, if there is one, goes to Don Ellis right at the outset. And much the same hit, but he leaves a 6-pin, so almost all 3 of the deliveries so far were pretty much the same. One of them carrying for a strike for Don Ellis, and the other 2 leaving a 6-pin for each man. So Don will be trying to get his 20 in the first frame by converting his spare right here. Got the ball out there nicely. Good lip. Turn the ball over. Gets his spare. Has 20 in the first frame, and now Bob Chase We'll have to get the strike right here to match his opponent in that first frame. Whitey Harris is here at the microphone along with us, playing the role of statistician and the bowling expert from Brunswick. Will be giving us some of his succinct comments as we go along. Chase out nicely, high again, and a getaway again. The 3-6-10 is left, and Bob has yet to get that big X. I started to talk about Don Ellis last week. I recall that he was in the pocket most of the time, and in fact had only one open, but nonetheless was able to overcome that and defeat his opponent, so he's back here for the second week. Bob Chase trying to do something about that. Covering this 3-6-10, getting his second spare of the game. Has 17 in the first frame with a spare up. Crosses over to 29 to go again. As you heard at the outset, Bob started along about 59 or 60 in this pro bowling trail, and he's done quite well. Started bowling in 1949, uses a fingertip grip, and a full rolling ball, as you can discern if you know a bit about the game. Out it goes, and there's his first strike. Giving him 37 in the second frame with the strike up, his first strike. Don Ellis started with a strike, now working on a spare. Turned that one over, but didn't quite get it up there, and he leaves the 2-4-5. I was wondering, and perhaps you were too, if he was going to bring the ball up quite enough to get in the pocket, and he didn't. So Bob Chase, who is down by only a couple of pins here right at the outset, will have a chance to double and go ahead. And he ran right by that 5-pin. He knew he was going to, too. And so here I was bragging about his bowling of last week and the fact that he opened only once, and he gives us another example of a classic open right here as he leaves the 5-pin. Has 46 through the third frame. There are a lot of ways to miss it, and Don showed you one a while ago. Comes right back with a fine working ball and gets the strike. Talked about the foul he committed last week. It didn't perturb him a bit. He came right back. He covered, got the strike for a spare in that particular frame. Came back in the next frame, as I recall, and went on to victory in that particular match. Here's Bob Chase looking for a double, bowling in the fourth frame. Where did that thing come from? There's an 8-pin sitting there. Boy, that's a rather aggravating feeling when you are about to glance at the scoreboard and watch them mark down that valuable double, and instead you can't even turn around because you're glued on that 8-pin. Bowling for $1,000 here today, and just as important, bowling for the right to stay around on Top Star Bowling and meet another opponent next week, and it'll be Buzz Fazio. So the winner of this one, no matter which of the two men it is, Bob or Don, will be busy 1 week from today. Despite the fact he didn't get that double, Bob is still 11 pins up here in the first match, working on a spare and bowling in the 5th frame. The head pin again leaves a 6-pin. So here early in the going, neither man has shown a good deal of consistency with that strike ball, but I'm sure it'll happen before the 3 games are concluded. That gives Bob 76 through the 4th frame. Trying to cover the 6-pin for a spare in the 5th. Bob here is married, has a family. So these are important paydays to these people. There's his spare. No opens for Bob. 1 open for Don Ellis. And he left a 5-pin back in the 3rd frame. This double right here would just about even the match. What double? That double. How'd I know? Well, that they are. You join in every week on Top Star Bowling, and you'll see the best. Looking for 3 is Don Ellis, and getting a 3 back. So that's 3 in a row for Don Ellis, who has 46 through the 3rd frame and then 3 strikes. Bob Chase has had but 1 strike in the match so far. Is working on a spare and bowling in the 6th frame. 7-pin. I thought he had a sweeper going for him. The ball turning through there, but no action going for the 7-pin, and he leaves it. Mr. Len Lammensdorf and Mr. Abel are seated back of the settee where the bowlers are located. These folks, Mr. Lammensdorf and Abel, are the owners of Hoffman Lanes and proprietors of A&L Bowling Centers, and a very fine establishment that they have here and elsewhere. Bob Chase covers the 7-pin. No opens for him. That gives him 95 through the 5th frame. However, he's down as a result of the 3-bagger that Don Ellis currently has going for him. And the difference in the match right at this point is some 11 pins, difficult to ascertain because Don has that string going for him. Bob Chase getting it out there and in there. Now, perhaps it was my imagination, but it seemed to me that Bob took just a little more time before he started his approach that time than he had in the past, knowing that Don Ellis was slipping away from him. And he got that strike in the 7th frame. He has 115 through the 6th, and now here's Don Ellis looking for 4. And no 10-pin. 10-pin trouble right here in River City. And that's not where we are. We're in Hoffman Estates, Illinois. Now, Ellis stayed in there. He wasn't quite sure if he was going to. Had the eyes up on the ceiling when he turned around. We have quite a few youngsters in the audience here today enjoying the action on Top Star Bowling. And if you've been to a bowling center lately on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon, you see these youngsters having a whale of a time. And you can have the same by just watching them, heaving those bowling balls down the lanes. One more reason why bowling is so great. Even the youngsters can cash in on the fun. There's another 10-pin, 2 in a row for Don Ellis. As he was working on a spare in the 7th frame, he's in his 8th frame now. He got off that string of strikes, which put him out in front against his opponent, Bob Chase. Things are not too conclusive ordinarily in the early stages of a 3-game match. And I think that applies here in this one. Let's see how he does. He shot this 10-pin a little differently than he did on lane 30. Bob Chase has a strike going for him. Ellis ahead in the match at this point, but Bob Chase can do something about it right here with a double. And he's up to his old tricks again on the nose. He didn't get that one that he carried earlier. No, that was Ellis who carried that nose hit. This is a 10-pin for Bob Chase. It's going to be about a 9-pin difference here if Bob covers the 10 in favor of Don Ellis. A few of the folks here were whistling, thinking perhaps that Bob didn't quite have that, but he gets his spare in the 8th frame. Now he's up in the 9th. The difference is 9 pins in the match at this point. Don Ellis out in front, trying to win for the 2nd week in a row on Top Star Bowling. And he thought he had one to work on, but leaves that 10-pin here in the 9th frame. Give me Mr. Chase, 154 through the 8th. 174 if he can cover and then strike out. 204 possibility here.
Jack, this is the point again when we were talking to him about why they take that first shot when they make the flip. In this particular position, Bob, he picks. Then Ellis will have 2 frames to roll, and then Bob can come back into roll on.
And he'll know what his opponent will have done. Chase, by getting that 10-pin, now has 154 through the 8th with a spare up. Possible 204. Working on a spare is Don Ellis, getting the full count, getting him 164 through the 8th frame, leading by 10 pins there, but he has a strike working for him, which is the big advantage right at this point. Now, if he can strike out, Don would have 224 and could conceivably finish with a 20-pin advantage over his opponent here in the first game. It's a 3-game match, total pins. 10-pin. That's 3 10-pins for Don Ellis so far in this match. They each have a possible 204. Don getting plenty of practice on these 10 pins. He'd rather be shooting for strikes. 184. Bob Chase a little anxious to get up there and crack one in to see if he could strike out. But Don Ellis says, wait a minute, I need 10 more.
Ellis said that he's not too good, but he gets another turn anyway, Jack.
He's working on a spare with 184 through the ninth. And Don finishes with 203. 203 for Don Ellis here in the first game. Now, Bob Chase is going to have to go all the way with 3 strikes in order to have a 1-pin advantage when this one is over. And couldn't start off in much more even fashion, but of course it's Bob who has to do that. He's working on a spare in the 9th frame. Bob has won quite a few titles in Kansas City and Missouri. And he wants 3 strikes, and that's not one of them. That's the same that he left earlier back in the 2nd frame, the 3-6-10. So Don Ellis is going to lead despite that open in the 3rd frame when he left a 5-pin. Possible 191 for Bob Chase. That would make it a 12-pin difference. 3-6-10 goes down. Next week, Buzz Fazio. He's a favorite of a good many. Both those who watch bowling on TV and those who come out to the lanes to watch these top stars. And Buzz will give you quite a show whether he's hitting them or not. Bob needs 10 for 191. And that's what he gets. 191 and a 12-pin difference. For Bob Chase here in the first game of the 3-game match, it's Bob Chase 191, Don Ellis 203. Right here, let's hear this message before coming back for the 2nd game. A 12-pin advantage for Mr. Don Ellis as we continue along. Let's call Bob Chase up here and fire one question at him before we start our 2nd game. Bob, you couldn't take advantage of the one miss on the part of Don because you had only 3 strikes in the game. What about it?
Well, I think in the 4th frame I had the opportunity there to start moving, and I left a solid 8 there, and it kind of shook me there for a minute.
Oh, I'd forgotten about that 8, but you can't forget about it, huh?
No, I don't forget about that one, but I think my big problem there was, Jack, that I was just a little fast with my footwork. If I can slow down, I think I'll be all right. The last ball in the 10th frame there seemed to be the ideal situation, and I hope I can hold on to it.
And you're still in good enough shape to continue along in this match?
Well, the bowling game is such that it can change hands pretty quick.
Okay, Bob Chase, good luck to you as we start our 2nd match. And the score is 203 to 191 in favor of Don Ellis. The 2nd game coming up here on Top Star Bowling. We talked to Bob Chase. Don't know quite what Don Ellis is thinking with regard to his patterns here, but let's see how he starts here in the 2nd game. And a bomb that was. He threw everything at that 7-pin, didn't he? He fired about 3 of them over there, and he starts with the strike as he did in the first game, leading by 12 pins. And now let's see if Bob can continue doing what he thought he had learned to do in the last frame of the first game. Watch his footwork, and perhaps you can learn something from it. Trying to slow it down a bit. And being high leaves a 6, 7, 10, and that's no way to start, particularly when your opponent has that strike up there. Bowling for $1,000 first prize, $500 to the loser. The winner stays around. We'll be here next week to meet Buzz Fazio. All participants on the show receive a very attractive LaSalle wristwatch. 6, 7, 10. It's been made. He might get this one. Nope. I thought for a while he was going to get it. And believe me, he was trying for it. He has a 9 count in the first frame. Bob, at whom you're looking, is from Perry, Missouri, originally, and Kansas City. Rather compact 5'11", 185-pounder. He's there. You know, it's a funny thing. He's talking about slowing his footwork down a little bit, and it seemed to me that he went up there a good deal faster on that last delivery, and he got his strike. And previously, slowing down, he came up with that split. Here's Don Ellis looking for the double. And he gets it. Terrific six-pin action for him.
It's interesting to note it, Jack, and on Bob's last throw, he lofted the ball over the foul line, while Don Ellis has been laying the ball right down on the foul line.
Last week when Don was on the show and defeated his opponent, we talked about the smoothness which he presents. He's something to watch and something to copy and pattern yourself after. And he leaves the 4-7. He was as high with that one, shaking his head, and I think happy to get away with it. But he didn't get that three-back he was looking for. So he has 28 in the first frame. He adds to his lead over Bob Chase nonetheless. I was talking about Bob Chase's speed before, just to point out that it's not automatic even with the best of these people. 4-7. Gives Don Ellis 48 through the second frame with a spare up. Bob Chase wants this double because he's down by 31 pins. Five-step approach. Up there, 10 pins. That's a double. That was a big piece of action from that 6. You had a good view of it. That 6 wavered for a moment, then did his work for him. Of course, he caused the work in the first place.
Yeah, but those Brunswick Score Kings came running over there to get that 10-pin, Jack.
Well, there's no doubt, Whitey, that he's been getting good action. All of these bowlers on the show here at the Lanes, Hoffman Estates. Let's see if Bob can get 3 and close the gap even more. No, there's an unfortunate delivery for him. He leaves the 3-pin. He really could have used that one. Starting with a split in this game, coming on with a double. Now leaving the 6-pin after crossing over. However, that double has cut the gap to 22 pins. And it appears they'll both be working on a spare. Bob gets his spare here in the 4th frame. Don Ellis comes up in the 4th frame, and he has 48 through the second with a spare up. How can they stand up? You know, we talk, bowlers talk about 10-pin taps and so forth, and 8-10s, and where do they come from, and how do you explain them? But really, when you get right down to it, you can tell that strike ball. It has a certain appearance that you can't argue with, and the pins certainly cannot withstand. There's just something about this game of bowling. When you throw the ball properly and put it in there as you should, why, you'll get those 10. Let's see if Ellis can double. And rather unusual lead for him with a 7-8. Don had 5 strikes in the first game. He's had 3 so far in this one. That's his first split. And as I recall, he had no splits last week. He's had 1 miss here today. Did he do it? Yeah. Yeah, the fans appreciate it. That gives Don 88 through the 4th frame with a spare up. No opens in this match. He had an open in the first match, but nonetheless came away with a 12-pin lead. He has increased that lead to 22 pins right at this point. Picking up 10 more in this one. Chase working on a spare. There's a real sweeper that time. Through the 5th frame now. Bob Chase has 78 through the 4th with a strike up. Don Ellis has 88 through the 4th with a spare up. There's a difference of 22 pins in favor of Ellis. Once again, an extremely important ball for Bob Chase going for the double. Just barely got to the head pin. Carried everything but the 2. He had somebody here in the stand rooting for him get up there, and he was probably muttering the same thing to himself, but probably knew at the same time that it wasn't going to quite do it for him.
I think he increased his speed on that particular ball on that left lane, Jack. He's been playing it pretty tight.
They've each had 3 strikes here in this game. There's the 2-pin and the spare for Bob. He started this with a split, remember? And that's the difference so far. He's lost an additional 10 pins in this game, making the difference 22. Don Ellis, after converting that split, working on a spare and failing to get up. 1-2-4-8 is looking at him, and as we've said with regard to some other leaves, there are a few ways to miss this.
The problem with this, Jack, is it's covering over, and they might come up short and leave the 8-pin.
You have to throw that ball driving through there, and he did. He sent that ball humming through there and in a perfect line and covered it all. The pin count hurt him just a bit. He was working on the spare, and he loses those 4 pins. The difference is 18, an overall difference, as we're here in the second game. Working on a spare. And in the pocket with a strike. So Don Ellis has 124 through the 6th with a strike up. Bob Chase has 98 through the 5th with a spare up. And Bob is about to roll here in the 7th frame. Working on the spare, he was outside, didn't get up, leaves the 1-2-4-10. Perhaps you've been able to pick out Mr. Carl Richard in our audience, one of the fine bowlers whom we'll be seeing on Top Star Bowling in the future. Carl's from Joplin, Missouri. Others whom you'll be watching, Buzz Fazio, Bill Pace, Dick Hoover. Let's see if Bob can cross over on the Brooklyn and cover this. And he did. Very nice. Bob gets his spare. It's going to hurt him a little bit, though, in the pin count. Don Ellis is 10 pins up in this particular game and has an overall advantage of 22 pins. He started this game with a 12-pin lead. And when Don comes back out there, he'll be working on a strike, and it's getting rather late. We're in the 8th frame, so Bob would like to get one himself to work on. And he does. Now he, at least for the moment, has the pressure on Don Ellis, who's looking for the double. As Don knows, if he doesn't get one here, that double in the 9th frame will be a terrific break for Bob Chase. But he'll have none of that. He comes back with his own double in the 8th frame to add to his 22-pin advantage, which, of course, could be offset when Bob Chase gets back up there. But now we're in the 9th frame.
You know, Jack, it's funny, from week to week as we watch these bowlers and just observing Don Ellis on this lane, he was inside the second arrow last week, and now he's one board to the right of that second arrow.
They adjust, and the ability to adjust pays off on the top echelon. There's the 4-7 again. On the head pin. I don't think anybody's missed the head pin here in either one of these games. In fact, I'm quite sure that yes, well, just a moment ago, I was thinking back, and very few times have they failed to get up there. Now Don with a 4-7 in the 9th frame. There's his spare, and that gives him 172 through the 8th with a spare up. 222 potential in this game. Here's Bob Chase in the 9th. He needs a strike right here to cut into the advantage. If he goes all the way, 224. And he'd only be 10 pins down, but he's got a lot of strikes to get. And that one was high. Coming up too strong at the end, leaves a 4-7. So, he's going to be trailing when this one is over, in all probability. Look out. Look out. Wrap that 4 right around that 7, and that's his second open of the game, having had a split the 6, 7, 10 back in the first frame. So about all he can do right here is to go for the 10, which would give him 172. $192 if he can go all the way. And then bear down in that third game. And he didn't get that first strike. Leaves the 6-9. You don't see that leave very often, Whitey.
No, that's the, in this match this week, Jack, you'll notice that Ellis had the 7-8, which you very seldom see, and now we see another peculiar hit. Could be the boys are pushing the ball.
Bob has to cover the 6-9, and he does. Boy, that 7-pin he left a while ago really hurts. He has to get 10 now for 182. And Don Ellis can have a 222 total here. He's a 42-pin advantage right now, Don Ellis does. Trying for his second win in a row here on Top Star Bowling. There's the 10 count, coming at a rather inopportune time. Boy, he was going in that 9th frame looking for a double, and instead he ended with an open. He has 182 for a 373 total. Here's Ellis in the 10th frame, working on a spare, getting the ball up there, and carrying it. That 7-pin goes down. Now 2 more for 222. He could be in great shape when this third game gets underway. Don started with a 203. About the same kind of a hit. About the same kind of a hit. The last 2 pins to go down, as you saw, were the 5-7, but he had a lot of action in there for him. So he's going to end up in the 220s in all probability. Giving him 420-something. Bob Chase 373. Maybe as much as a 49-pin difference right here. Threw that one out the window. Good spot for that, but he gets a 6 count, giving him a final score of 218. And this is what it is so far. Bob Chase with a 191 and a 182 for 373. Don Ellis with 203 and 218 for 421. I'd hear a message, and then we'll get set for the third and final game here on Top Star Bowling. Let's talk to Don Ellis at this point of the proceedings here at the Hoffman Lanes. Don has a 48-pin advantage, and I suppose in the interest of drama and suspense, I try to take 10 pins away from you, Don, but you want all 48.
I need every one of them. You never can tell about this boy.
I'm thinking about to last week, and you were leading by some 42 over Rogoznica, and he made a close match.
You didn't have to remind me of that.
Well, I thought maybe it'd help you bear down a little bit as we get set for the final game.
I know you've got to just keep pitching here with these boys on this show. You never know when I'm going to string 7 or 8 in a row on you.
You're not going to do anything different, are you, Don? You've got them pretty well fathomed at this point.
Well, I hope not. I'd like to stay about where I've been.
Right where you are. Huh?
Right.
Okay, fine. You can get set for the third game with the 48 pins, Don. Good luck to you and to Bob Chase, and we're all set for the third and final game. Total pins count, and we're here to continue with Top Star Bowling. Bob Chase will lead off. He has a long way to go here as he shoots for the $1,000. Let's see how it starts on 29. He crosses over. And he was rooting there for Brooklyn when he realized that he was crossing over, but leaves the 6-10 and no way to start it. And as I look back on the score sheets, I see that Don Ellis in the first game started with a strike, started the second game with a double. Bob Chase hasn't been able to match him right at the outset. Bob Chase from Kansas City, Missouri. Gets a spare in the first frame. And now Don Ellis. He got quite a count for such a ball. He leaves the 2-pin. Didn't have a very good angle going in there. He did get to that head pin with a very thin hit, but he didn't have the angle going for him. And so he fails for the first time in the match to start a game with a strike. And, of course, that doesn't bother Bob Chase. The two-pin looking at Don Ellis, who's trying to win here on Top Star Bowling for the second week in a row and earn the right to take on Buzz Fazio next week. Starting to mention some of the other outstanding stars you'll be watching. In addition to Fazio, Bill Pace, Dick Hoover, Glenn Blakesley, Don Carter, Carl Richard, whom we mentioned earlier. Working on the spare, right on the head pin, gets away from the split. And as Don contemplates this spare, let me mention, Steve Nagy, Glenn Allison, quite a few others. And I know that those of you who are bowling aficionados know the dames as well or better than I. Don Ellis with 17 in the first frame was a little bit afraid of that ball he threw, but he covered the 3-6-10, and he has two spares in a row. Barney Schwartz, who's here? He's not going to be on Top Star Bowling, is he? Here's Bob Chase.
If he is, Jack, he'll be signed by Chuck Costello, who handles the Brunswick advisory staff.
It's about time for Bob Chase to get serious here and crank in a couple a bit high, and he was happy to see that 9-pin go down. He couldn't use it. Not many strikes for Bob. He had 3 strikes in the first game, came back with 5 in the second. He is still looking for his first one here. Meanwhile, Don Ellis had 5 in his first game, 7 in the second game. That's a difference of 4 strikes, and the difference in the match when we started was 48 pins, and that about figures, doesn't it? Here's the 4-7 covered by Bob.
I think it looks like to me, Jack, that Bob is just giving his ball such a lift and pointing it, which is usually an error that's made by a lot of bowlers. They're pointing right at the head pin. That's what he's doing.
He got that one out a bit. He got up and left a 10-pin. So when he was doing most everything right, the 10-pin wouldn't cooperate with him, so he'd be looking for his 3rd spare in a row. He has 37 through the second frame. This match even right at this point, this particular game, but the match still finds a 48-pin differential in favor of Don Ellis. And the 10-pin. From the time we started and until we're through, $40,000 in prize money will be involved. Ellis looking for his first strike in this game. And leaves the 7-pin, almost left the 5-7. So Bob Chase is 1 pin up in this particular game, but he has to pick them up more rapidly than that. And the only way to do it is with the strikes. Or, of course, an open or 2 on the part of the opponent, but Don Ellis is not inclined that way. So we've had 6 spares so far in this game. Who's going to get the first strike? If Don were to get it and then string a few of them together, it'd be Katie bar the door as far as Bob Chase is concerned, and Kansas City would have one of its hometowners back home to visit with the neighbors. Ellis on 29. Had a little bit of trouble at the foul line, but got that ball out there nicely and gets the first strike of the game, giving him 56 through the 3rd frame with a strike up. And Bob here knows that he's going to have to start matching Ellis and doing a bit better because we're almost to the midway point in the 3rd and final game. He got that one out. As Whitey Harris indicated to you before, he'd been pointing the ball and not having a good angle going for him, and when he's had the ball out, he's been unable to make it come up into that pocket, leaves the 1-2-8 in this particular instance, and he can hardly afford any opens. All of these spares are extremely important to him. Bob's down by 50 pins right at this point. The ball for a moment looked like it might slip off, but it did catch that 8, giving Bob Chase 54 through the 3rd frame with a spare up. Bowling in the 5th frame, down by 50 pins. He could make them up in a hurry, though. There's one. That's the angle he's been looking for. That's the angle he's been unable to find up until this point. That's his first strike of the match. Took him to the 5th frame to get there, giving him 74 through the 4th frame with a strike up. Don Ellis add to his lead, which is now 50 pins, with a double right here in his 5th frame. And who can argue with that? And so Bob Chase drops further behind. Chase has 74 through the 4th with a strike up, and Don Ellis has 56 through the 3rd with a double working for him.
He picked up the challenge, Jack, which is usually a favorite expression here, as he threw a double right back at him.
And he might add another one right here. This will be the first 3-bagger of this particular game, and Ellis gets it. Well, you can see this one shaping up without much of an argument, and Bob Chase has only 5 frames to change the momentum of this match. Don Ellis, before getting that 3-bagger, adding the last 2, had a 50-pin lead over Bob, who is working on a strike. He's got to get this one here to get something started, and oh, what a time for that. That 4-pin jumped right over that 7. I don't know if you would say that that was high at all, Whitey, but I thought it was a pretty good hit.
Yes, it's just like you described it, Jack. That 4-pin went completely over the top of that pin, which is an unusual hit.
So he had a chance to get the double, but didn't. Now has to hang in there. Covers a 7, gets the spare. Gives him 94 through the 5th. He's down by 60 pins, and he's got to try for one here to set things up for the remaining frames of this match. There's a difference in $500 riding, and things were very close at the close of the first game. 12 pins, 48 pins at the end of the second game. Bob Chase hasn't been able to do much about it. 70 pins right now as he delivers in the 7th frame and leaves the 4-7. It's just lack of strikes as we look back. That he started to come around in that second game, but that's when Don Ellis chose to throw a 2-18 game. Bob went into this game with a 373 total for the 2. There's his spare. And a reminder that the Texan here has 3 working for him. Now he's got 4. Now he's got 4. 4 in a row for Don Ellis. Bowled 620 last week to win the match and stay around. He could better that considerably here if he keeps going. And there's 5. Little wonder when you start to reel off the names of the outstanding bowlers in the country, and you'll see the top star bowlers in the country right here on this show. Little wonder when you start to name them and rank them, you're going to get around to Don Ellis before too long. Chase still can't carry him even with the good hits. It looked like he was going to have a double back there in the 6th frame. You remember that 7-pin, and there's another one. The pin difference right here, about 82. Bob Chase is in the 8th frame. The frames can't come and go quickly enough for him right now, I'd say. There's his spare. Continues to battle, and Pluggy hasn't opened in this match, but he's had only 1 strike. And he had a gap of 48 pins to take care of, and you can't do that with spares. In the 9th frame now. on the nose, leaving the 6, giving him 150 through the 8th. He could bowl a 200 game, which would put him in the 570s for the total, but Don Ellis could really get up there in the figures. He can bowl 266 in the game that he currently has going. There goes the 6-pin. And that would give Ellis 680 some. And I'm sure you'd like to see that, so you can root for Don right here as he bowls in the 9th frame. He has 5 in a row. Is that 6? Yep. That's 6 for Don. 3 more, and he would have 266, and he would have 687. That wouldn't be a bad day's work, would it? Not to mention the $1,000 in the watch. You'd have a fine total to talk about when he goes back home to Texas. And he didn't do it. High that time, leaves a 6, 7, 10. The high so far, the high single game was on Top Star Bowling at 234, bowled by Andy Rogoznica last week. Buzz Fazio will be the newcomer to the show next week. Couldn't quite do it. But a very fine game and a very fine total. 231 for Don Ellis. 652, and so the final total for Ellis, 652, and let's see what Bob Chase is going to end with. He has 150 through the 8th with a spare up. Goes all the way for 200. Why didn't he do that earlier? That's what he's saying. Why didn't I do it earlier? That's only his 2nd strike of the match. The game, rather. And his 10th of the match. I'm trying to get another in there. Wouldn't quite come up for him. Much too thin, 2, 4, 5. Of the 6 games that Don Ellis has bowled so far in Top Star Bowling, 5 of them have been in the 200s. Bob Chase here is going to end with 560 some. 652 for Don Ellis. He's going to be $1,000 richer. There's the start. And 190 for Bob Chase. 563 for Bob. And so this match in Top Star Bowling went to Don Ellis by 89 pins. 652 for Don. His opponent, Bob Chase, 563. Right here, a message, and then we'll meet the 2 participants on Top Star Bowling. The vanquished and the victor here at the Hoffman Lanes here on Top Star Bowling. For the loser of the match, a very attractive LaSalle watch for Bob Chase. Bob, there you go.
Good. I'll tell you what I'll do, Jack. I'll use this to time myself to the approach after this. I've been pretty fast all day.
It should help. And everybody in Texas is going to be wearing a wristwatch if this keeps up. Another fine LaSalle for Don Ellis. Don, congratulations.
Jack, got a big family, so I need a lot of these.
You need a lot of these,
yes.
too? $1,000 for our winner, Mr. Don Ellis.
That looks better.
And $500 for the Kansas City kid, Bob Chase. Bob, what about the match
Thank
today?
you very much.
What about your bowling, or shall we forget it and wait
Well,
for the
I
next
think
time?
that'd be a good idea. I think possibly this week I'd been better off in the Olympics the way I was hitting that line. I could run that 100-yard dash just about as fast as I was going to the line.
You know you're going up there quickly, but you can't do anything about it, huh?
Well, that's a poor excuse, but I was having a hard time slowing my footwork down, Jack.
Mm-hmm. Well, Bob, better luck next time. We enjoyed watching you bowl today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Bob Chase from Kansas City.
Good luck in the future.
Thank you, Bob.
We've got a dandy for you. Next week. We got a little grandfather from Detroit. You can beat him, can't you?
Oh, I hope to tell you. Where is he?
Buzz Fazio.
Well, that's looking a little worse.
Don, good luck to you, and congratulations once again.
Thank you very much, Jack.
All right, Don Ellis, our winner here today on Top Star Bowling. Well, it is next week, and once more, another edition of Top Star Bowling. We certainly hope you'll tune in. And that little grandpa from Detroit is none other than Buzz Fazio a very, very colorful character to watch. You'll enjoy it, so please tune in. Once again, the final score is here. Don Ellis 652 to whip Bob Chase, who had a 563 total. And that will do it from the Hoffman Lanes, Hoffman Estates, just outside of Chicago. Jack Buck says thanks for your time this time. Till next time, so long. Top Star Bowling has been presented by LaSalle, the precision jeweled watch. Bowling equipment by Brunswick, the #1 name in bowling. Top Star Bowling is sanctioned by the American Bowling Congress.